Good morning, fellow ruminators. Welcome back to another session, Rumination with Andrew. Thank you so much for joining as we're about to discuss a very important topical matter. And maybe I should not say good morning, it's good evening. And I am very, very much happy to be with you one more time. I should not be talking now because this is not my scheduled time to speak, but I had to speak right now because I'm wondering what is going on in Jamaica. And the Gleaner is reporting that 10-year-old found dead in pond in Trelawney, right? That's a 10-year-old. And so crime is on the uptick. But even though this news is in the Gleaner, yet still, the Gleaner is still reporting that St. James saw low murders in April, says head of police division. And it's here suggesting that St. James recorded 6 murders in April of this year, a record low for the parish since 2016, according to Commanding Officer, Senior Superintendent of Police, Aaron Samuels, right? So the parish recorded 6 murders in April. That's really low for Jamaica. 6 murders? That's good if that is true. But that's what they're reporting, so we have to take them at their word. Now, addressing today's monthly meeting of the St. James Municipal Corporation, Samuels, who heads the St. James Police Division, said that partnerships must be forged between the security forces and residents in order to maintain the low figure. So that's good for St. James, but we are concerned about the uptick in other parishes, such as Trelawney. And we're hearing the body of a 10-year-old boy was discovered in a pond on Holland Estate in Trelawney on Thursday. He has been identified as Al-Qaid Palmer of Zion in Martha Brae. He was a grade 5 student at Granville Primary School. So this is a 10-year-old boy. An investigation officer attached to the Trelawney police told the Gleaner that Palmer was reported missing at 8 a.m. Thursday. A search team was dispatched to the area, and Palmer's body was discovered in the pond about 10 a.m. Investigations will continue into the circumstances surrounding his death, right? So this is something that, and we see an uptick in the number of children being slaughtered, being butchered, being murdered in Jamaica. And it seems to me that there is not not any uproar in terms of disgruntled attitude, right? We're not expressing our deep emotions at such gruesome acts of murder, particularly of our young children. Something is definitely wrong. I think that we are putting a lot of our energies into becoming a republic, and people's, emotions are so much charged about becoming a republic. And it's very important that we become a republic, but I have been asking, are we going to become a republic just in name and not in substance, right? Because I think that Jamaicans tend to look at names. We like to, we're vain people, and we like to, flaunt names and titles. And many of the times they have no substance. And I think in this case, we are looking for a republic without substance. As far as I'm concerned, I have said it on this occasion, well, I've said it on many occasions, I should say, that the United States is our colonial master. That is the reigning superpower to the north. That is the military colossus that we have in the world. Great Britain is not. So the fact of the matter is that severing ties between Jamaica and Great Britain at this point will not redound in a lot for us. And we are not going to see, a sudden reduction in crime and violence. And we're not going to see an orderly society, right? We should have created those benchmarks. We should have ensured that we are a civilized nation even before we aspired toward achieving Republican status, something that we have to think about. But when are we going to think about crime reduction? When are we going to understand that we cannot have our children being slaughtered and people in general being slaughtered as they're being slaughtered in Jamaica? I think that it's business as usual, and we have to come to grips with crime and violence. We've got to come up with solutions because really and truly, based on what is happening or has been happening over the years, Jamaica is not a civilized country. We are not a civilized country. You cannot be a civilized country and have that high homicide rate, right? It does not cohere, doesn't add up. For 3 million people who live on a small island nation, it cannot be that we're having so many murder rates and we're not hearing anything of substance coming from our politicians. And I think if we have a more orderly society, I think that we might see fewer murders. But because a lot of times our laws do not have any teeth and they're not properly enforced, then we're seeing the level of chaos and anarchy reigning in the land of Marcus Mosiah Garvey. Now, when we talk about republic, people tend to think that, it's just that we're going to have this republic and we're going to be free and we are going to be independent, right? But we are neither going to be free nor independent, right? We are neither going to be free nor independent, because as I'm suggesting is that if we are going to be truly independent, we have to be independent economically. And we are so much dependent economically that I really, really do not know where to begin in terms of the level of our debt. Well, they say that they're reducing the debt, but is the debt really being reduced? Is our national debt really being reduced as they're telling us? Or are they saying that the interest on the debt is being reduced? Which is being reduced? Something that we have to really ask ourselves. But is the debt, the principal, is that being reduced as they're telling us? Or is it the interest on the debt that we're seeing being reduced? Because there are two different things, right? Because we know that we had high interest, it's almost like having a credit card. And you have all of this, high interest that they have on the credit card, plus your principal, right? Or on a student loan. So we need to ask the question and we need to know what really is happening with the IMF, because at this juncture, we do not know, right? We hear lots of spatterings of noise and that, what's his name? Nigel Clark is making, but we are not hearing anything definitive coming from his mouth as regards the IMF agreement, right? He needs to be able to let us know what is really happening. What is the position? What is the position? I think that is something that we need to talk about, and we need to hear from him, because we cannot continue like this, right? We have to have some level of economic independence, which we do not have. First of all, we have to be self-reliant, and we're not self-reliant. And we don't even own an industry, a worldwide industry. What are we selling? What are we exporting to the world? Apart from, music and our violence. What are we really exporting to the world? What product is known to be Jamaican in the world? Apart from saying from reggae music and dancehall, what can we say we have produced that is world renowned? Right? What product is it that we have produced and we are benefiting from? We are seeing that where it's actually being used to develop our economy. I am not sure. You can tell me. I am not sure what we have really, what worldwide product we have developed that is really helping to uplift us economically. All right, you can perhaps educate me about such a product. I do not know, right? I do not know. So this is what I wanted to call your attention to. I think that we should be expending our effort into reducing crime and to come up with solutions so that we can have crime-free society, if it's at all possible. I don't think at this juncture of the history that a crime-free society is possible based on what I'm seeing and the levels of corruption that is so high that has been racked up for all these years. And our leaders seem to be extremely corrupt. And the crime and violence is interwoven into the economy into the wealth that many of our political economic elites have generated and that actually are benefiting from over the years. So they do not have what should I say now? They do not have the inspiration, as it were. They're not inspired to see a reduction in crime and violence, because that will definitely impede the level of wealth that our political economic elites can generate, that they can earn. And it's something that we have to speak about. We have to speak about, and we have to begin to look at our elites and call names out and say what they're doing, what they own, and some of the nefarious activities in which they might be involved, right? It's time now that we begin to speak and to let our voices be heard, because if not, then we are going to just be another Haiti in the Caribbean. And many of you think that another Haiti is not possible, but it's much more possible now than any other time in our history, right? We are not heading in the right direction, right? There's just too much corruption in Jamaica, and the corruption is breeding a lot of, what should I say now? That sort of corruption is breeding the crime and violence, and is making Jamaica, pushing Jamaica in a direction that is going to be untenable. And very soon, uninhabitable. We won't be able to inhabit our land if people are just dying like flies, right? How can we be comfortable when we see and hear about the high murder rates that are actually coming out of Jamaica? Right? Now, tomorrow I understand that the diaspora in New York will be launching some type of protest about corruption in Jamaica. I hope that they will also begin to highlight and to make prominent the murder rates that are coming out of Jamaica. But be careful what you wish, because you're actually, protesting from New York in the United States, in the mouth of the beast. And remember now that the United States has the Global Fragility Act. And what if they use it against us and occupy Jamaica? Because according to the United States, they have that right to do so if the crime and rate becomes unbearable, right? And our crime rate is becoming, if it is not yet, it should be unbearable. And it should be creating some type of alarm in the country, but we have become so acclimatized, we have become so accustomed, we have become so desensitized to the high levels of crime and violence that it's nothing. I don't think that the citizens of Jamaica really care about the levels of crime and violence. I think that we just think that this is a norm. And we hear that this happens, and next day we move on until it comes to our doors. And then we begin to lament. But nothing changes, right? Nothing changes. So please make sure that we try to let our voices be heard, that crime and violence should now be the government's major priority. It should not be the acquisition of the status of a republic. That is not going to help us right now. That is not going to help us right now. We have to clean up our house first, right? There are certain things that we have to do before we can let people know that we're a republic. Clean up our house, right? And we've got to reduce crime and violence, because right now what we're seeing coming out of Jamaica is really hideous, right? It is something that we should be embarrassed about. But where's the shame? The shame or lack of patriotism seems to be something that is prominent amongst us, and we don't care. We don't have a sense of civic pride anymore, right? It's just that we just want to showcase individually what we have achieved or what we have not achieved, but collectively as a people, we are not looking well. we are not looking well. And we've got to take some look at the collective. The collective is equally important as the individual, right? It's equally important as individual. And we have not yet understood that reality. We just want to flaunt ourselves, the individual, and we are not examining, right, the sort of, collective identity that we should have forged as a nation. But as Marty Perkins said, I do not think that Jamaicans have an understanding of what nationhood is really about. And that is why we're still having crime and violence. That's why we hate each other, because we have not yet forged a nation. We have not yet forged an identity. So we're suffering from an identity crisis. As a result of that, we're killing each other right, left, and center, as if we are in a major civil war. We have been experiencing a civil war since 1970s without any end to that civil war. When are we going to stop that civil war? Or should we first accept, should we first acknowledge, should we first admit that we are in fact going through, experiencing a civil war? And maybe when we shall have accepted, acknowledged, admitted that fact, perhaps we will see a reduction and we will be able to come up with practical solutions to solving crime and violence. All the best to you. See you in the next video. Hope that you have learned something. I hope that I can upload another video for you to see tomorrow. Have a great evening and see you. All the best to you. Bye.